Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar on apprenticeships. If this is the first time you're joining, thank you. For most of you, I think this has been our fourth webinar this year. We're doing a series of webinars every other month. We're bringing topics that we think are important for employers that you guys like to hear about. So our goal is really just to be helpful, educate you, and give you some resources, contact information, so that you can do the jobs that you guys need to do. Our next webinar is going to be September 27th, and that one's going to be a big one. It's on unemployment insurance. So we'll do that one same time, 9 to 10:30. I will send out the email with the flyer and a way for you to get registered. Please feel free to share that with anybody that you want. It isn't, it's open to whoever wants to attend. So please share that. You can contact me and give me their information if you want me to email them as well. But we just want to get the information out to you. So please share. After today's presentation, we will send out a link for the recording if you're wanting to listen to it again, or again, like I said, if you want to pass it on to anybody that wasn't able to make it today. We'll also send out the slide deck from today. So probably 3 to 5 days after, I have everybody's email address since that's how you registered with us today. So I will send that out. We have muted the audience since it will be large. And so you can ask your questions through the Q&A. So you'll find that at the bottom of your screen. A lot of times I think people are familiar with chat. We're not using chat, we'll use the Q&A. You'll put your question in there, and then the presenters today will stop along the presentation and get those answered in time for you. I think that's all the housekeeping I have this morning. Again, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us. And I will turn the time over to Gina Robinson, who is the program manager for apprenticeships with the Idaho Department of Labor. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Candy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It is a pleasure to speak with you all about registered apprenticeship. Next slide. So we have a full panel with a lot of information today, and we're really excited that all of these registered apprenticeship experts could come on today's call and have a conversation with us. I will just run through the lineup really quickly so you know who's speaking when, because it could move pretty fast. I'm Gina Robinson. I'm the program supervisor for Apprenticeship Idaho at the Idaho Department of Labor. We'll also be having Connie Heights, apprenticeship coordinator for funding and agreements, was her previous role. And then Michelle Stout, our apprenticeship coordinator for program development. Jenny Boozer will be helping us manage the Q&A today and fielding your questions. Caleb Tibbetts with Idaho Vocational Rehabilitation. He's an apprenticeship coordinator on our team. He'll be talking about the talent pipeline, as well as Crystal Robles. She's our apprenticeship coordinator within the Department of Corrections. And last but definitely not least, Christina Feliciano with Idaho Business for Education. She's the business development and program manager and will help us understand a little bit more about youth apprenticeship. So today's objectives, what we will be covering is first, what is registered apprenticeship, kind of debunking some myths and giving you some really great information, we hope, and how to develop an apprenticeship program, what it looks like to recruit for your apprenticeship program, and what funding opportunities are available for your apprenticeship program. We will also intermittently open it up for Q&A as well. So before we start, we couldn't do this work in the apprenticeship space without all of these partners. They are so integral. Some of them you may have heard of before, some of them you may not have heard of, but we work with these agencies day in and day out to help streamline apprenticeship and give our clients a more robust apprenticeship experience and hopefully right information. So before we start, we're going to do a little video on apprenticeship.
Even when the U.S. economy is humming along, it contains a strange paradox. Employers have a hard time finding workers, yet many workers have a hard time finding appropriate employment. This mismatch can be explained, in part at least, by the change in requirements in the labor market. For example, of 100 workers in 1950, only 2 needed a college degree. Today, it's almost 50. In 1950, only 10 needed prior work experience. Today, it is more than 70. As it turns out, many employers have started to demand a college degree, even if the job does not necessarily require one, in order to screen for general work maturity. They just can't seem to find a better indicator for promising employees. That might be fine if most people had a degree and the applicable experience. However, it may be surprising to hear that in the United States, out of every 100 ninth graders, only 21 graduate from college within 9 years. What sounds like an alarming statistic is actually nothing unusual for a healthy economy. College degree rates are similar all around the world, but as long as employers continue to screen applicants for a college degree, they're missing out on the vast majority of our national talent. Critical positions go unfilled, and workers can't find good jobs. In addition, even degree holders may find it difficult to enter the workforce as they lack the experience many employers require. So what if there was an alternative path to filling these well-paying jobs? There is. It's called an apprenticeship. Some have come to call it college without debt. It's an ancient educational model still in use in the United States that combines classroom instruction with job training in the workplace. In the US, apprenticeship is actually widespread and very successful in the trades. And in recent years, we have seen it start to spread to other professions as well. Yet still, apprenticeships currently involve less than 1% of available jobs. What if we could scale this up and offer this education and career pathway to all students? In Switzerland, which has about the same rate of college graduation, 21 out of 100, nearly all the remaining students, 75 out of 100, go through apprenticeship programs. From bank tellers to computer technicians, from nurses to bus drivers, their education exactly matches what the job market needs. Similar numbers exist in other European countries. What would it take for apprenticeship to go mainstream in the US like it has elsewhere? Well, the Swiss start young, typically in the last 2 years of high school, and they don't expect schools to teach work. Apprentices learn academic skills in the academy, but learn job skills on the job. They follow a carefully balanced model that combines 1 to 2 days on campus with 3 to 4 days on the job each week. Employers stay directly involved in eliminating the skills gap. Apprentices also earn money while they learn. So instead of falling into debt, they can make a living and even start saving from day one. In addition, and this is another surprise, Swiss employers also earn money while apprentices learn. They have figured out how to train workers at no net cost to them, and in fact, at a substantial profit. This is because trainees, who work at low training wages, increase business productivity so much that they increase company profits, even while being paid for attending school and going to work. This win-win-win-win has turned Switzerland into one of the most resilient, innovative, and competitive economies in the world. Now imagine what the US economy would look like if its apprenticeship investment were scaled up to this level. US businesses would invest around $150 billion into their training and earn around $165 billion on that investment during the training period alone. Instead of its current 445,000 apprentices, the US would have more than 6 million. Student debt would be reduced by almost $160 billion per year, and the youth unemployment rate would fall from a current 10 to 15% to 3%. The mismatch between what employers are looking for and what they find in the job market would be erased. Many of the ingredients that are needed to make such a future a reality are already present here in the US, and in places where employers, in collaboration with high schools and community colleges, have embraced professional style apprenticeships, students and their parents have embraced them too. When the idea of college or nothing becomes college without debt, and students develop industry-valued professional skills as part of their education, we begin to solve the strange American paradox of both too many job openings and too many job seekers. And, best of all, we rediscovered the depth of our national talents.
Thanks, Connie. Now we're just going to dive a little deeper into what does registered apprenticeship look like in Idaho and the process. So very simply, sometimes apprenticeship can seem a little complicated, right? Or we can really make it complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Apprenticeship, simply just remember this one sentence: apprenticeship is an employee training program, right? And that's essential, employee. Next slide. So apprenticeship, as the video indicated, is a proven approach that increases recruitment and retention. And what we like to say is it provides a bridge between aptitude and opportunity, giving that employer a way to identify new employees for talent versus just degree. So USDOL registered apprenticeship in the United States is considered the gold standard of the workforce development continuum. And what I mean by workforce development continuum is that progression between, let's say, job shadowing into work experience, into an internship, pre-apprenticeship, and then ultimately, hopefully, that training path can lead to a registered apprenticeship. And in Idaho, we have more than 2,900 USDOL registered apprentices with 238 program sponsors and about 489 employers participating in those programs. From 2015 to 2021, Idaho has seen an incredible amount of increase and adoption of apprenticeship programs. So 116% increase in all apprentices, 120% increase in new apprentices, and a 463% increase in new program development since 2015. So again, it is becoming more readily available and expanding into many, many occupations across Idaho. And part of the reason for that is it's industry driven and customizable. There are over 1,200 pre-designed training standards available with more than 3,000 occupations, from advanced manufacturing to like zoology, literally from A to Z, and everything in between. So why is apprenticeship becoming adopted so readily by employers in Idaho? Well, one thing is it attracts career seekers versus job seekers. And we'll be going into the why of that a little bit more. But there are, as I said, identified preset training standards. And so in those standards, career seekers can see the investment that the employer is making in that career and in that employee. So it's an attractive proposition for someone who really is looking for a long-term career, that they can see their path to that career. And because of that, it has reduced turnover. Retention is very high. In fact, the bottom bullet is that 94% of apprentices retain their employment after their training program ends, and they can often stay with the company for long term. Oftentimes, a career seeker will see a higher wage scale over time. And so they know that if they're investing in their career with this employer through this apprenticeship program, they know their future, and they can compare that with the other opportunities that might come their way. And they're like, no, thanks, I'll stay right here. And so it really increases that loyalty to that employer because of that investment. And it increases productivity, right? Because you have innovation in the classroom happening at the same time. They're learning industry innovation, and institutional knowledge is being passed down. So that apprentice is taking all of those experiences, all of that knowledge, and helping increase the productivity of your company. And that brings me to the next bullet point. The skilled ready workforce is ready to adapt to that innovation because they are just like a sponge. They're learning everything. They're coming to the table with new ideas. And it really can benefit the employer that way. It also increases the talent pipeline width, right? Because earlier in the slide, we talked about how you can use apprenticeship to recruit for talent, not just a degree. So now your talent pipeline has expanded exponentially, right? Because you can see more people will be able to access the opportunity your company is offering. So the benefits to the career seeker, it's an earn while you learn model. So as we said at the beginning, it is an employee training program, and thus they are an employee just like any other employee with the full benefits. And that is attractive. It's very hard in today's age to go to school full-time and not have a job. Also, so you need something that can help pay for your family, help pay for your mortgage, but also give you the opportunity to have a great career. And these are high earning careers. The average apprentice can out-earn a degree earner by $300,000 in their career lifetime, which is a pretty significant pay increase. So it's an attractive proposition for career seekers. Also, there's mentorship, and there is an outline of mentorship. It's an expectation of apprenticeship. And so within that career seeker can really grow. And as I mentioned in a previous slide, about institutional knowledge, that mentor is passing down that knowledge about your company, your culture, all of those things that are really hard to get if you just have somebody sitting at a desk trying to learn the job on their own. Also, it's a complement or an alternative to a 2 or 4 year degree. Again, this opens up opportunities for people who have the talent but don't yet have the industry credentials or degrees necessary to go into that occupation. And there's no gap between education and career, right? So they're simultaneously learning. They're not going to school first and then putting in their on-the-job hours. They're learning both at the same time. So they're putting the dots together faster. And when they're coming out of that apprenticeship, they don't just have that education piece as they would with a degree alone. They're coming with the 2 or 4 years of experience that goes along with that education. So now you've got someone who's 2 to 4 years further advanced in their career at the same age. Next slide. So let's talk about some myths about apprenticeship. These are some of the more common things that we have been told or heard. And so we figure you might have heard these too. So we wanted to talk about those. So one is the myth is that apprenticeships are for low-skilled entry-level employees only. And that's true. It can be a great opportunity. If you're coming right out of high school, you have no job experience, you want an entry-level position that can advance you into a bigger career. But there are other occupations that do require intensive classroom instruction, or front-loaded education. So if we're talking a semiconductor, fab technician, or teacher, paraprofessional, things like that. An perfect example of historically an apprenticeship, even though we don't call it an apprenticeship, is a physician, a doctor, right? That is a great model of an apprenticeship. And it is obviously not a low-skilled entry-level position. So like I said, some apprenticeships can start at entry level, but some, like engineer and project managers, can be much more advanced career apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are the same as internships. That is definitely not true, because an apprenticeship is an employee. An internship might be paid, but they are not considered an employee. Apprenticeships are only for youth. With registered apprenticeship, you can start at 16, but you can also start at 116, right? So it could be a perfect opportunity for an adult to reinvent their career, but maybe they don't have the opportunity because they're managing a family to go back and get another degree. An apprenticeship can help someone reinvent their career in midlife, mid-career. It's only for the trades. So I think we've talked about that a few times already, but thanks to our trades partners, they've really refined the apprenticeship model. Apprenticeships started in the US in about 1937, and it really did start with the trades. And so we owe them a big debt of gratitude to helping provide a proven model that other occupations can follow. And that is one of the reasons why apprenticeship is growing and so successful. So thanks, trades. And there's no formal education required. That is a big myth as well. Some people think, well, it's just on-the-job learning. When you're talking about registered apprenticeship, education is key. We call it required technical instruction. And there's 144 hours approximately for every 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning that's required. Some of that can be in an actual classroom, in a college. Some of it can be online. So there's different ways to go about the related technical instruction, but there is a required education component for each apprenticeship program. And the other myth is that it's incompatible with other workforce programs. If you're already working with, let's say, an IDOL local office workforce consultant, ask them about apprenticeship, right? Because it can work beautifully with the other programs you're utilizing with that workforce consultant. Job shadowing, work experience, on-the-job training, programs like that can provide the stepping stones for your company to really identify great talent to go into your apprenticeship program. Next slide. All right, so next we're going to start getting into the development of a registered apprenticeship program. And we'll start here before I hand it off to Michelle with what are the 6 components required within an apprenticeship program. Because just like any other training program that's out there, structure is essential. So these components are essential to a sustainable and strong registered apprenticeship program. One is the sponsor, right? And a sponsor means that's sort of the owner of the registered apprenticeship program standards. They've developed it and that sponsor is managing that apprenticeship quality data. So they're basically the administrative entity for that program and ensuring its growth sustainability. Second is the employer. Again, we talked about every apprentice is an employee. So an employer is essential in that model. So sometimes the sponsor and the employer can be the same entity, but sometimes they're two different entities, and we'll go into that a little bit later. Another part is that on-the-job learning. That's, I think, what most of us are familiar with when we're talking about an apprenticeship, and what we conjure up. It's a mentor and their apprentice, right? And they're learning, they're working side by side, and that mentor is passing down that career instruction through an experiential kind of model. So that's really what that on-the-job learning piece is about. The other required component is related instruction, and we talked about that a little earlier. Again, that can be classroom, but that's that technical theoretical instruction that complements that experiential instruction. And then we have the wage scale, right? So within every apprenticeship program, you'll hear us refer to standards, and that's that outline of that program. And within that is a set wage scale. And the wage scale starts at a training wage. And as that apprentice progresses in their competencies and skills, there are certain benchmarks that they can achieve. And once they've achieved that, then their wages can go up throughout their apprenticeship program. There has to be at least one wage scale increase through the apprenticeship program. And then at the end, completion, a successful completion of their apprenticeship program, the apprentice receives a credential, and this credential is issued by the USDOL. It is nationally recognized, and it is portable to all 50 states and US territories. Next slide. So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Michelle Stout, our Program Development Apprenticeship Coordinator.
Do we want to pause really quick and see if there's any questions in the chat?
There are no questions in the chat. We can go forward.
Thank you, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
So we recently found out that there was some discussion about the cost associated with developing a registered apprenticeship in the state of Idaho, and we just want to make sure that everybody is aware that there is no cost associated with what it is that we do within Apprenticeship Idaho.
Hey, Michelle, I'm not sure if it's just me, but your audio sounds really quiet.
Is that better?
It is.
Okay. So one of the things that we want to make sure that everybody is aware of is that Apprenticeship Idaho provides the services that we deliver at no cost to the employers that we work with. So we are a full service experience in apprenticeship program development and sponsor support benefits. So we just want to make sure everybody's aware of that because it has come up in the past. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Connie. So touching on what Gina spoke about earlier regarding sponsorship, I just want to briefly cover that we've got two different models of sponsorship. We've got the group sponsorship, which is often going to be a college or an association that holds the standards and is able to provide relief from the administrative side required through the USDOL of managing an apprenticeship program. Employers will sign up underneath those group sponsorships, and in that agreement, they are identifying that they're going to be providing the on-the-job learning component of the registered apprenticeship program, and that they're the ones that have the apprentices, so the employees. So that's one model, and we've got quite a few sponsors that are identified as group sponsors within the state. And Then the next model we've got is going to be the employer sponsor model. So we do see this one more frequently, most commonly with smaller businesses. But that's going to be where we've got the employer that is going to manage the registered apprenticeship program. So they're going to be developing it, identifying those components that Gina spoke about earlier, your related technical instruction, your on-the-job learning, and your wage scale. And they're going to work together with an RTI provider in order to provide that related technical instruction for the apprentices that they employ. So those are your two models of sponsorship. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, Connie. So when it comes to establishing a registered apprenticeship program, we've really streamlined how that occurs here at the Idaho Department of Labor. The first thing you're going to need to do is connect. So we're going to have that information a little bit later, but get connected with somebody who's working within the registered apprenticeship program. And then you're going to work with the development coordinator to flesh out what that training plan looks like. So I work directly with the employer or the entity that will be the sponsor to identify what the on-the-job learning activities are going to be within the training program, what the related technical instruction looks like for that training program, and then we cover what the wage scale is going to be. So we provide full support. You don't have to start from scratch all the time. Sometimes, depending upon the occupation, it may be a very specialized kind of function that the individual needs to be able to do. So we can tailor them to accommodate for those situations. Once we get that all wrapped up together in a nice, neat package, we then get it registered with the USDOL. So we're able to facilitate that process, and that has resulted in a pretty quick turnaround. So we went from some programs were taking, 6 months or longer to become registered, where once we get that sent off to the USDOL, usually we get that returned back within a week. So that approval process has really been streamlined. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So in order to connect, and we will be sending out this PDF of this with active links, but you can go ahead and email registeredapprenticeship@labor.idaho.gov, and we'll get you connected that way. And then if you're interested in how registered apprenticeship and youth can work together and want to have a more in-depth discussion regarding that, you're going to be contacting Christina Feliciano, and she will be able to help facilitate that process. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at the sponsor supports that we provide here at the Idaho Department of Labor, we've got technical assistance, and that's where we're going to help a sponsor get trained on how to use the federal and state information management systems, often referred to as RAPIDS. That's going to be a relatively simple, I refer to it as a relatively simple HRIS system where you're going to enter your apprentice's name, their address, their demographics, and it's then going to get them enrolled into that federal program. We offer recruitment navigation. So we have Caleb Tibbetts who's going to speak on that here in a little bit. And that's really an opportunity and a support system for employers that have registered apprenticeship programs. Learn how to diversify your recruitment strategies. So Caleb is got tons of connections throughout the state and is aware of lots of avenues that you can expand that way. And then last but not least, we do have some funding opportunities when it comes to registered apprenticeship, and we offer support to help understand and take advantage of those benefits once the program is approved. So while I do say a registered apprenticeship, like the funding is never like the absolute reason to get involved in registered apprenticeship, it is a nice support system to have. To help offset some of the costs associated with apprenticeship. So next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch to Caleb.
Yeah, Michelle, we had Rachel asking what an RTI provider was. I do know the answer, but do you want to go ahead and just expand on that
Yeah.
real quick, what an RTI provider is?
Right. So so RTI, related technical instruction, that's going to be a vendor that provides that component of the registered apprenticeship. So primarily what we're seeing is a lot of workforce training centers can provide that service for sponsors, but there are also other avenues that a sponsor can select to use if there is a national program or a national vendor that you'd like to use that is maybe online, you're welcome to use that. So it's really, when it comes to that, it's going to be up to the sponsor to identify which vendor they would like to use when it comes to those things. So if you've got an LMS system that already works for your company, you are more than welcome to use that. We just need an outline of what it looks like when we're developing the standards.
And that's why I gave it back to you to do that, because I knew you would do it perfectly. Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. And so, guys, I just want to spend a couple minutes with you to talk about talent recruitment. Talent recruitment is one of the major reasons why companies, employers want to develop a registered apprenticeship program. They're identifying those needs, and they say, hey, we want to create this program because we see the value in registered apprenticeship. And one of the major value in registered apprenticeship is that you can really expand your talent search and make it so that more individuals are able to apply for the jobs that you have available. Maybe there's some specific certificates that you like to see people coming in with, but you're posting on Indeed and these other job boards, and you just can't get anyone with that very specific certificate or experience that you're looking for. So maybe you think to yourself, well, okay, then we got to train our own, right? That's what apprenticeship is. You're training your own, you're bringing them in. But then you might say, well, how is this really going to change anything? I can't find anyone now. How am I going to find apprentices? And that's where we come in, where we can say, hey, after you develop this registered apprenticeship program, you can work with myself, some of our other team members, and we can help you with this talent recruitment. And so, like I said, really what this does is it allows you to cast that wider net, because now you can hire for culture fit. You can hire the right individuals. Maybe they don't have the specific skills you're looking for, but if you hire that culture fit, you have a program now developed so that you can train that right individual, and now they're going to have the right skills. And so hopefully you kind of starting to see the value in registered apprenticeship from a talent recruitment side of things. And this little chart we created, this is just kind of the chart that keeps me on track when I'm working with you. If you developed a registered apprenticeship program, I would say you are a sponsor. And so when I'm working with sponsors, which means they have a registered apprenticeship program, this is the chart I use. And so really we start over here on the right, which is identify talent needs. And a lot of people, a lot of employers do that prior to creating their registered apprenticeship program. As they're identifying these talent needs, they think, all right, we've got to create this RAP, right? And then the tell your story part of things is you've gone through all the work, you've worked with Michelle, you've developed this program. My best recommendation is to make sure that you express that in your job postings. You want to market this as a registered apprenticeship program. This is a big deal. This is going to set you apart from a lot of your competitors that are competing for these talented individuals that are in the job market. And so you really want to set your company apart. Why is your company a great place to work? What are you offering? And one of the major things you're offering is that registered apprenticeship program. It really does mean something to the job seekers. And then make a plan. So what we mean by that is who are you not marketing to? And who can you market more efficiently to? Maybe you're posting on Indeed and a lot of high school students and youth aren't really using that job board. Or maybe you're posting on Idaho Works, which is great, but maybe not enough people are on the Idaho Works And so really, it's making a plan for what you think your job would be great for. I've spoken to some sponsors where they say, you know, due to this skill and this skill, I really think this is a great job for veterans. Or due to this need and this need, I think working with our Idaho Department of Corrections is going to be a really good fit. Or maybe you need to get in touch with Christina and her team and some other individuals to really access youth and high school students. Whatever it is, and maybe it's everybody, but whatever it is, just really identifying who's going to be right for your program and making a plan. And then that comes right into recruit untapped potential. And what we mean by that is there are so many pockets of job seekers out there, and so many companies that are looking for job seekers, and there is this disconnect. And so our team, what I do when I work with you, I just try to connect those two. And so we work with high school students. We're in the high school, so we can tell them about your program. There's a quick example, right? It's just kind of easy. You're going to hear from Crystal with Idaho Department of Corrections. They have an amazing untapped talent potential pool of individuals that are gaining skills, and she'll tell you all about it. I work for Idaho Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. If you're not familiar, you might have heard it called Voc Rehab or VR. I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. But that's an untapped potential right there, right? We have hundreds of job seekers on caseloads that are coming in looking for jobs. We're providing them training and getting skills so that they're ready to come into these types of programs. And so really it's just figuring out how to reach out to more of these pockets of individuals. And I help you through all of this. You don't have to memorize all of this. And then of course at the top, we monitor, reevaluate, is what we're doing working? You said you wanted to hire more youth. Have we been able to do that? If not, maybe we need to open it up and rethink what we're doing. This is all about making sure you get the right person. And really what I try to do is get you more interviews so that you can hire the absolute best individual for your registered apprenticeship program. Hire the best of the best, right? That's what it's all about. Oh, this would have helped. Forgot about this slide. This is just to show you guys this talent recruitment pipeline. I kind of said all this already in that slide. I should have waited for this slide. But yeah, in-school youth, out-of-school youth, Idaho tribes, which I didn't mention, veterans, IDVR, IDOC, and many more. All sorts of different agencies and communities. We work with chambers of commerce, things like that. So we're really out in the community trying to promote these registered apprenticeship programs so that you do get those best apprentices. And then I just wanted to spend a quick second talking about IDVR, because that is my employer who I work for, VR counselor by trade before I got it in as an apprenticeship coordinator. And so just so, you know, increase your knowledge in general about IDVR, we work with individuals with disabilities to be successful in employment with services for pre-employment transition services. And all that means is working with high school students, helping them develop skills. And if you develop a registered apprenticeship program, you can hire high school students. And we even have programs where we can pay an employer to hire a high school student, and you can try them out, and you're actually making a little money on their hours. Literally make money and try somebody out before you put them into an apprenticeship program. I mean, there's these programs like that that are truly awesome that people really just don't know about. So really a great way to you know, develop that talent, right? You don't always have to put everyone right into your registered apprenticeship program. Maybe they want to do a job shadow. Maybe they do want to do what we call a work experience. And then they can move into that registered apprenticeship if it's a good fit for both sides. So we have things like that are really awesome. We help people obtain and regain employment, and we help people maintain or advance in employment. And so really anybody that has a disability, and disabilities can mean a wide variety of things. I mean, you're talking physical disabilities, minor or major, mental health, cognitive disabilities, minor or major. I mean, we work with people from anywhere with, you know, maybe they have a specific learning disability in reading. They just don't read that well. Their reading comprehension is low, but man, they're really good with their hands. They really work well they understand cars really well, or they understand mechanics really well, right? And so it's just all different types of individuals that we work with. And so that's just a little bit about Voc Rehab. Here's some of the supports that we can provide to businesses. A lot of people think about VR and they think, oh, they work with individuals with disabilities. And that's absolutely true, but we have a dual customer model, and our other customer are Idaho businesses. And so we do things like candidate pre-screening and recruitment assistance. Maybe you don't have a registered apprenticeship program yet, and you're in the process of developing it, but you still need good talent coming in your door. Reach out to VR. Reach out to me, and I can help you figure out how we can pre-screen, how we can get some good referrals over to you guys so we can fill these hard to fill positions that you have available. We have disability and ADA training, things like that. So, that's kind of foreign to some people, and they don't want to hire individuals with disabilities because they're not quite sure of the ADA rules, Americans with Disabilities Act, and so we can help you train with that. We can help overall build a talent pipeline. This is what we've been talking about, right? But again, we can do this from a VR standpoint. And we have employer reimbursed training. Michelle said we're going to get into some funding things, and I won't talk too much about that, but we do have funding that can come back to employers for training individuals. And so, a little money never hurts anybody try to develop their talent. So, and then we're going to move into a video here. This is a VR success story. And we really wanted to show this one because it's got a few different things. It's got a VR customer, so Idaho Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, but he was also with IDOC, Idaho Department of Corrections. And so it's kind of showing that partnership. And again, you're going to hear from Crystal here shortly. And also, of course, it's about an apprenticeship. So hope you enjoy.
When I caught my charges and I was facing some time and stuff like that, I didn't know what to do or where to turn. Through talking to one of my POs about trying to find help with funding initially it was with my health insurance, but they got me linked up with Diana, and then she kind of helped me from there.
Cody came into the program about 4 years ago. He was referred by his probationer officer. Originally, I spent a lot of time getting to know Cody. I really wanted to understand his background, what his struggles were, what his strengths were. We moved forward with exploring his vocational goal. He had transitioned from a different trade to wanting to become an electrician.
The relationship between Idaho Department of Corrections and vocational rehab has been one that's been very successful. We have very similar goals and vision and values that we have, which is ultimately to get our clients to become successful in our community. Take the PO approach, but also kind of the counseling approach that vocational rehab provides for our clients to be able to become more of a well-rounded network support for our clients to ultimately make them succeed.
In the beginning of my apprenticeship, between my health insurance, figuring out how to pay for my apprenticeship, and just all my bills, I was the sole provider of my household. It was very stressful to try to figure out how to juggle and manage all that. The support from Deanna and Sarah, to be honest, was a huge blessing. It really comes down to just helping me, with my apprenticeship. There's a certain amount of emotional support that came with that too, because then I wasn't as stressed out having to worry about that financial obligation.
In the beginning, we had supported him with things outside of school. The services that Voc Rehab provided for Cody during this process was counseling and guidance to address any challenges related to his disabilities and barriers to employment. We also provided assistance with his medical insurance, 3 years of tuition for the electrician program at CWI, and we also helped him with books for each year that he went to school.
So I did my apprenticeship through CWI. It's kind of broad knowledge. They teach you everything from being an electrical engineer to, service work, troubleshooting, and then through 45th parallel. I did a little bit of everything, commercial work, did custom homes. My crew's the one that goes in and pulls all the circuits and gets it ready for all the other trades to come behind us.
Some of the steps to become an apprentice is you have to, go down and register with the Division of Building and Safety. You have to show gainful employment and progression. They do hold the guys to a higher caliber because they want everybody to make it through. The state, as well as us as the employer, we want the employee to make it through.
He then did his on-the-job training with 45th Parallel, where he had a mentor that helped him through that process. And he also completed the education part through CWI in the electrical program.
Our business and Idaho VR are really, in my view, vehicles for people to get in front of the right people to pursue their goals. It really comes down to the customer, the employee's desire to succeed.
My experience with Cody, since he came over here, he's been model employee. With him and the 4 guys that work with him, they're my best crew.
As a journeyman, I make $38 an hour. We have 401k and health benefits. We got paid vacation, holiday pay.
We start people out at $17 an hour. We end at $38 an hour. That's where journeymen currently are.
And one of the things that I have learned that's the most valuable, even when I think I know it all, I still am always learning. So I try to remember to be humble.
It's amazing to see how far Cody has come. When he first came to VR, he had an entry-level job, and now that he's exiting the VR program, he now has a career.
I definitely wholeheartedly feel I am better off now than I've ever been in my life. I like everything about being an electrician, really.
Great. And so, like I said before I introduced the video, hopefully you can kind of see, I mean, he went from $17 an hour to 38 in an apprenticeship in 4 years. So that's a pretty awesome example right there. But the reason I came off mute is because I wanted to answer this question. Somebody said, is this program, so I was talking about like training reimbursement and dollars that can come back to individuals through the VR program. And so they said, is this program replacing a similar program that paid new hires for about 12 weeks? The state would reimburse the employer for the wages for that time period, or is this a separate program? And so to answer that question, we still have that. It's called an on-the-job training. And essentially, yeah, it's what you described. We can reimburse employers for training costs for individuals, or you can think of that as like a wage reimbursement. And we do that over the course of 2, 3, 4 months. And so absolutely, we still have that. And that can be used if you have a registered apprenticeship program, or if you don't. And we also have, so what I was talking about a little bit there was our work experiences for students, which are kind of the student version of that. So you guys don't have to worry too much about that. Just understand that we do have some programs for funding coming back to you if you are hiring some of the individuals that VR is working with. So don't want to get too far into the weeds there, but yeah, that program is still available. And then Michelle or Gina, would you like to answer, would engineering firms be good candidates for a registered apprenticeship program?
Sure, I can touch on that. So we do, the USDOL has multiple engineering occupations as an apprenticeable occupation. So yes, so engineering can mean a wide variety of different fields underneath that umbrella. So it would really depend upon what we were looking at, but there are multiple options within the USDOL database when it comes to engineering.
And then Michelle, do you also want to hop in on how do small businesses work with the colleges for doing the training? That can kind of be a little confusing trying to figure out that RTI and all that. And Michelle,
right? Yeah. So we have a lot of the colleges are now group sponsors. So if that occupation is underneath their group sponsorship, there's an opportunity to get connected with the colleges that way if you're utilizing their related technical instruction they offer. And then if you're also in a situation where you need specialized training, a lot of the colleges have a coordinator that can put together specialized training. But really getting connected with the development coordinator, that's going to be critical with that, because what we can do here is we can help you get connected with the people that you need to when it comes to apprenticeship and that related technical instruction.
Awesome. I will turn it over to Crystal to tell you about IDOC.
Hi, can I stop for a second? I have some more questions, Caleb.
Oh, great.
That have come in that, and I had one question we want to defer to Candy. I had one question. How long is this seminar?
Perfect. Well, it kind of just depends on how long it lasts with question and answer, but we are slated until 10:30.
Thank you. And the other questions Caleb took over, and I think we can go forward now. Thank you.
Oh, Crystal, you need to unmute.
Thank you. I am Crystal Robles, and I'm with the Idaho Department of Corrections, and I'm the apprenticeship coordinator. And just to give you a little insight on what we are doing with apprenticeship programs is within our facilities, we have created job opportunities that fit within registered apprenticeships. We offer related technical instruction courses by our school within our facilities. It's a special purpose school, and it's the Robert Jans School. We, along with those related technical instructions and the on-the-job learning, we support them by, monitoring their hours and just making sure that they're getting the support they need, or any concerns that they have, any struggles that they have. We're trying to support them along the way until one of two outcomes happen. They either complete the apprenticeship and we connect them with employers out in the community to help them find employment, or if they're not finished, we can connect them to a group sponsor or a partner such as IDVR, Voc Rehab, or St. Vincent de Paul, that can help assist them with continuing their apprenticeship out in the community, finding jobs, and finishing their education. Some of the programs we have are in the trades, such as the front-loaded electrical program. We have office manager, we have audio video communications. We do offer Microsoft Office Specialist, AutoCAD. We have a variety for them to choose from, depending on what career they want to go into. And we have some pretty awesome people with some talent coming out, looking for a job, and we're hoping to fill that need for employers.
This slide, I think either Michelle or Caleb can cover quickly.
Yeah, so I just want everybody to be aware of the potential to recruit veterans utilizing registered apprenticeship in combination with the GI Bill. So we've developed a really great partnership with the Idaho Division of Veteran Services, and we partner with them when we've got an employer that would like to get GI Bill approved. We have streamlined that process. Once you are approved through the USDOL, because we are talking about two separate programs. The USDOL manages registered apprenticeship. The Veterans Administration is associated with the GI Bill. Idaho Division of Veteran Services, they're the folks that help facilitate that GI Bill approval. So it can be a little bit confusing, but we're here to support you through the process. But the approved USDOL registered apprenticeship programs get kind of fast-tracked through that GI Bill process because they are already approved through one U.S. department. So it's a really great program and opportunity to offer the veterans that you might be recruiting or that you have. And it's available to all the veterans and the beneficiaries that may be eligible for that GI Bill benefit that the veteran has. The VA is also going to pay up to 1 year in arrears in eligible situations. And the USDOL Registered Apprenticeship Program relieves the employers from the compliance surveys that the VA administers through that GI Bill program. So what that means for you is that you're going to experience a reduction in compliance audits with the VA. And it's a great opportunity to take advantage of for these particular individuals. And when we're talking about the apprentice side, the GI Bill with a registered apprenticeship program can help. It can help the apprentice financially because they're going to be able to tap into things like the living stipend associated with the GI Bill. And then there is some money available for those individuals where they can have like their books or tools that they might need supplied for by that program. So really great program to take advantage of as a USDOL registered apprenticeship sponsor. And I just want to make sure everybody is aware of it. So thank you, Connie.
Hi, there is a question in the chat, and I'd like to answer this question. With as long as this program has been going on, is there a streamlined method for clients to gain access to potential apprenticeships? I have a client that wants to be a secretary. How can she find that apprenticeship? It's no different than some job seeker coming into your lobby and saying, I want a job. An apprenticeship position is a job, and those jobs are posted on Idaho Works. So my first question, if somebody came in and wanted to be a secretary, I'd ask the first question, are you in the Idaho Works system? Are you registered in Idaho Works? Second, do you know how to access jobs in Idaho Works? If you do, there's a search button, and you push the word apprenticeship secretary. Those are two keywords that will pull up any apprenticeship secretary that has been identified in all of the state, or all the database of Idaho Works, just like we do for every job seeker. Up comes some job postings. Unfortunately, some of them may not be active, or they may not be searching at this time. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to write down that employer's name. And when a job posting comes up, you may want to enter it through an entry-level position, because here's that employer who has an apprenticeship. They're going to hire often from their own incumbent workers. So you want to get right in there and have a job posting, you want to be hired by this company and then do your probation or whatever. And the employer will probably come to you on your 6-month probation interview and say, would you like to apply for a job, for an apprenticeship job? Now, as far as the secretary position, we have to look and see if that employer sponsor has a registered apprenticeship secretarial standard. Again, when we talk about apprenticeships, as it has been noted before, we have registered apprenticeship with the USDOL, which is what this whole team works with. We have state apprenticeships, which is often DBS, Division of Building and Safety, or DOPL, and many other state. And we have private employer in-house registered apprenticeships or apprenticeships. So either one of those, I think that your client would be very satisfied with getting a job in that question. I have another question. So, and I hope I answered the first question of how she or he, anybody can find an apprenticeship job posting. It's in Idaho Works. And the next question follows up on that. So the apprenticeships on Idaho Works are where companies post for apprenticeship positions. Exactly. Our employer services and workforce consultants in the Idaho Department of Labor offices are consistently posting jobs for apprenticeships. And you can see those jobs because those jobs are identified with a big letters RA. That's the registered apprenticeship. That's USDOL, which this panel is representing. But again, remember, there's other apprenticeship job postings, and all you have to do is post the word apprenticeships in the search bar and what you're looking for, what kind of apprenticeships, and up will pop many job ideas, many employers that already offer what you need. Thank you. I think that's the only 2 questions, and I'd like to go on to the next speaker.
Thanks, Jenny. Elsa, this is all you.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to briefly talk to everyone about Idaho Department of Labor services and programs that might help in the talent recruitment process. Employment services, and I'm just going to touch on really quickly on some of these. Basically, with the employment services, staff are there to assist employers manage their employee recruitment process and hiring process. Staff can also help employers through the process of posting their job listings, managing applications online, and so forth, and they'll just guide them through those processes. Veterans programs, we have disabled veterans outreach program consultants and/or local veterans employment representatives at each of the local IDOL offices. And those consultants are in place to help veterans and connect them with different employment opportunities. Our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, our WIOA youth program, helps out-of-school youth ages 16 to 24 with different work-based learning opportunities and assist them gain the skills and experience needed for various occupations. We also have the Trade Adjustment Assistance Program, or TAA. It's a federal program that helps workers who have lost or may lose their jobs due to imports or exports. And it helps them find opportunities to obtain necessary skills, resources, and support necessary to become reemployed. We also have the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, a federal tax credit that encourages employers to hire groups and individuals from disadvantaged areas and those job seekers that are in need but have barriers. And then we also have wage, workforce, and economic information provided to employers to help them keep up with salaries, benefits, and employment projections. And there's certainly a lot more programs and services that we have available to help employers in their recruitment. And there's additional information. When you get this slide presentation, it'll have the link to also these business services flyers that include much more information on other programs and services that may be able to help. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Elsa. Christina, if you want to cover some youth apprenticeship.
I would love to. So hi, everybody. I'm Christina Feliciano. I am the Business Development and Program Manager for the Youth Apprenticeship Program for North and Central Idaho. I'm going to talk a little bit first about Idaho Business for Education. So Idaho Business for Education is a nonprofit organization with more than 200 business leaders from across the state. We are committed to transforming Idaho's education system, and we do this with a two-house approach. One is the state house approach, where we advocate for education through schoolhouse initiatives, and the other is through, we advocate through state house. We advocate the state house through for education, and the other is through schoolhouse initiatives. As part of the schoolhouse initiatives, in partnership with the Workforce Development Council, we are the sub-awardees of $2.4 million youth apprenticeship grant. This is a statewide collaboration to create and expand apprenticeship programs for people 16 to 24 years old. Just to let you know, apprenticeship programs can be for any age group, but we solely focus on ages 16 through 24 years old. Idaho Business for Education also serves as an intermediary to connect students, parents, educators, employers, and sponsors to registered apprenticeship and expansion opportunities, and also supportive services. Speaking of supportive services, we have $750 every fiscal year to help with work appropriate clothing, uniforms, tools, laptops, really anything that would be reasonable and necessary for an apprentice to have during their apprenticeship program. We also have on-the-job training funds for employers. To learn more about Idaho Business for Education, please review our website. Feel free to contact me directly. My contact information has been made available throughout this presentation. I believe will be made available towards the end. Connie, next slide, please. So we're going to talk a little bit about the student to registered apprenticeship programs, or otherwise called STRAP. So as you've heard throughout this presentation, apprenticeship is an industry-driven, high-quality career path where employers are given the opportunity to develop their future workforce. One way an employer can start is by tapping into youth 16 to 17 years old by using the Student to Registered Apprenticeship Programs, or STRAP. Unlike summer jobs or internships, the STRAP program allows the student to work with a mentor in occupations that could be considered hazardous, but they need permission. So the signature of the sponsor, the employer, the parents, the apprentice, and the USDOL. And yes, we help you obtain those signatures as well. So there are 7 steps to creating your STRAP program. First is you have to have a registered apprenticeship program. You have to develop a program. The foundation for any of these additional add-on features like STRAP or VA services, veteran services, is you have to have your registered apprenticeship program established. The second is collaboration. If you're looking to hire 16 to 17-year-olds, it is best to establish the collaboration with local high schools, GED programs, homeschool organizations, and community resources. Idaho Business for Education can help you out with this as well. We also prepare, and we ask the student or potential apprentice to prepare, and they can prepare for their apprenticeship program with their parents, the recruiter, Idaho Business for Education again, and we attempt to get them connected to open opportunities. And the reason I say attempt is a lot of times the employers have somebody in mind when they're working with us. But if not, then we do make calls and we try to connect those students as best as we can. The recruitment side, the employer has all rights to pick and choose who they feel would be the best fit for any open or registered apprenticeship program. They can connect with Idaho Business for Education for recruitment helps, and vocational rehab, and Caleb Tiblitz is amazing as well. So feel free to utilize our services to help with any type of recruitment needs that you might need. So the 5th step is to hire. The employer hires the student, or at this point, the apprentice. And the apprentice is considered an employee of the company, which means that employee has to comply with all rules and regulations that the employer has set forth for their establishment. We also talk to the apprentices when necessary, and so does the schools and the community resources to let that student know you are an employee. It's your responsibility to speak up when you need time off. There, you have to comply with what they set forth. The 6th is the training. So we've talked about training a lot, so I'm not going to dive too far into it, but you already know there's 2 different types of training. We have the related technical instruction and the hands-on, on-the-job learning. Both those components need to be present, even with the STRAP program. And then the 7th is the student graduates. So once the student has completed their requirements for the apprenticeship program, which the requirements that the employer has set forth, either it's time-based, competency, or what have you, they are awarded their national credential, and that national credential is transferable across state lines. Next slide. And I believe we're going to watch a video.
I do think so, and you guys can go ahead and tell me if I'm wrong, but we are running a little bit low on time. This video will be available. Do we want to go ahead and skip it for now and go on with the rest of the slides?
Yes. Sure. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So we'll make sure that you guys have the links to these videos so you can watch them at a later time, but we want to make sure that you guys get all of the content of our slide deck today. So we'll just go ahead and go on without the video today. So now I want to go ahead and go into a little bit of the different funding opportunities for apprentices and for employers, sponsors, RTI providers. So you guys have a little bit of an idea on what sort of supports are available to you once you've established your registered apprenticeship program. So Apprenticeship Idaho as a whole offers USCOL registered apprentices financial supportive services to help with costs that present a barrier to them participating in their program. So that could be things like tools, books or fees that go along with their RTI, their related technical instruction, uniforms, clothing, any additional supplies that are related to that occupation. In some cases, we can provide transportation support. So for fuel or minor auto repairs, similar to the grant that Christina had just talked about, these can complement each other to help support apprentices depending on their eligibility criteria. We do have a supportive services handout that will be made available to you after this presentation, just so you can get a better idea on what could be out there. In addition to apprentice supports, we do have funding opportunities for employers and sponsors. So the Apprenticeship Idaho team coalition has established a funding committee to come together and sort of band all of our funds together to see what supports can be out there for employers and sponsors. And these can cover a number of different services for costs associated with related technical instruction. Caleb touched on the on-the-job learning or on-the-job training reimbursement opportunities through their VR program. There could also be funding available through additional programs in the state. There are some industry-specific funds. So if there's an occupation in cybersecurity or energy-related, civic sector, public sector apprenticeships, there could be funding available there. So all of our partners on the on the Apprenticeship Idaho Funding Committee, the Workforce Development Council, Idaho Department of Labor, Voc Rehab, ITD, Ideal College Savings. These are all different programs and entities that have funding available for employers and sponsors. And part of our sponsor support is to help you navigate these different funding opportunities and tap into those funds if you need them and if you're eligible to receive them. So like we've been talking about, all of these additional sponsor support opportunities that are available after your program is established can help support you in your registered apprenticeship journey. Sorry, I do also want to go into like when, because I know this question comes up a lot, but a good time or time frame to think about when you can apply for funds or when you can start having these funding conversations is after your program has been approved through the U.S. Department of Labor, after you've had your trainings in the state database systems, after you've had a consultation with Caleb if you need help with talent recruitment. So funding is sort of the icing on the cake, I like to say. So if you're getting services from Michelle, Ginny, Caleb, all of our different coordinators, and you finally have we've assessed that you need some additional financial support, we can get together and assess you for different services that might be available to you. You guys may have, feel free to add your questions in the chat and we'll monitor and answer them as they come in. But that is the end of our presentation today. Gina or Candy, do you
Yeah.
guys?
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We will be following up with any questions that you might have had that we were not able to answer. And we will be sending out the slide deck in a PDF form with links that are active that you could just click some of those videos that we didn't get to watch today and explore more. So, and thank you, Candy, for inviting us to be a part of this discussion today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys all attending. I know you're in the middle of a conference up north, so I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule for us. Like I mentioned at the beginning, if you weren't on at the beginning, every other month we're holding employer seminars with different topics of all the programs we run here at Department of Labor. We have our next one September 27th from 9 to 10:30. The topic will be unemployment insurance, which is always a great resource for businesses. It's always a very, very heavily attended workshop. So if you are not on my email list, you can get a hold of me at candy.rudd@labor.idaho.gov, and that's KANDI. I'm also the one that was on the flyer. The information is on our website, our calendar of events you can always go to see what we have going on across the state and any of our local offices. And we have our employer information there, or you can reach out to our communications team. It's on our website, and they can get you in contact with myself or put you on the list so you're on our email list. And then the topic we have after unemployment is tax, unemployment insurance tax. So really good information. That's what we're here. That's our goal, is just to help inform and educate employers. There was a lot of great information today. Like they said, reach out in any avenue you can. We have a ton of programs here at the Department of Labor that we want to help employers with.